Drug dealers are flocking to the streets of Montana, and we know this in the last 2 years. There's been a 116% increase in fentanyl deaths. Fentanyl being 100 times more potent and lethal than morphine. And it only takes 2 milligrams to actually kill you. So think about that when you're looking at these grains of salt. That much is deadly. These images are alarming.
Stay with her for a second. I'm gonna go get another dose.
But they're real. It might look like a scene from a movie, but this is Billings, Montana. This body cam video shows the exact moment a Billings police officer revives a woman with Narcan after she ingests a deadly dose of fentanyl.
Can you hear me?
There you go. You okay?
Yeah.
Stay down. Stay down.
This time her life is saved, but not all are so lucky.
It's Russian roulette. It's your typical American kid.
It's been 5 years, and Kim Ettinger still carries the grief of losing her only son.
You know, everybody thinks it could not happen to them. We were exhausted. We were exhausted and we were scared.
Her youngest, Caden, commanded a room, standing tall at 6'4", with the ability to make anyone laugh.
Was captain of the cross country team. He was straight A valedictorian, wanted to go into the medical field.
But July 27th, 2017, Kim says that bright future vanished.
And all of a sudden that tornado stops and everybody flies out and one's gone. And you think, how is this even possible?
Caden was given a deadly dose of carfentanil.
It's an elephant tranquilizer, not meant for human consumption.
Those drugs being handed out at the cafeteria at Montana State University. It was not only linked to Caden's death, but also a handful of other overdoses. Kim says the DEA indicted 11 people in that case, all under the age of 25.
Fentanyl is just really readily available right now.
And it shows here at the Billings Police Department's evidence locker.
We see it coming through the mail, we see it coming through our highway systems, and it's also coming from the southern border.
As Lieutenant Brandon Woolley shows us,
see
these
the 30 in
pills,
this
they
pill.
look exactly like normal prescription drugs, but they're actually laced with fentanyl, crushed, stamped, and mixed with lethal amounts to resell.
And you don't know if you're taking a life-ending overdose or if you're not going to get anything at all.
But perhaps what's most alarming in Montana is the amount of fentanyl coming into our state. Seizures by the Drug Task Force have skyrocketed. 114 pills seized in 2020. By 2021, that number was 24,000 pills. It's an increase of some 21,000%.
That's just the amount that we seized as law enforcement.
Woolley says there's several reasons Montana's seeing so much fentanyl.
There's also that financial component.
That same fentanyl-laced pill sells for roughly $2 in cities close to the border like Phoenix. A little bit more north in a city like Denver, the price roughly $5 for a pill. But when you get into Montana, that same fentanyl-laced pill could sell for as much as $30.
Get out of the way.
Officers are here. Dave!
Get out of the way. I got Narcan. Get out of the way.
It was meth that seemed to dominate the drug market in Montana for so long, but now there's a new player in the game.
The more he lost, the more he used. And the more he used, the more he lost.
And parents should know these pills can fall into the hands of anyone. It's something Kim knows all too well.
I just wish I could tell him, why did you do this? Like, why did you even do it one time? You know, why? Why one time? Like, you had so many opportunities and you were so blessed. Why?
As she continues to cope with the loss of her son, she also wants to shed light, saying no one should feel stigma or shame in seeking help. In Billings, Andrea Lutz, MTN News.
Caden was my third kid and only boy in the family, and always mischievous, great sense of humor, the jokester in the family, always doing stuff, always off on an adventure or hiding in the woods with his friends, or taking skeletons around Halloween and placing them in weird places around our house, like reading a book in my chair, or we're like, who is doing this? And it was him. Funny stuff like that. Always just lit up the room when he came in. And I know people say that a lot, but our whole family will tell you the same thing. We'd be eating Thanksgiving dinner, and he'd come in 20 minutes late and stand up at the table and, hi, Grandma, hi, Grandpa, and just start everybody laughing. That's just who he was. He was captain of the cross country team. He was straight A valedictorian, wanted to go into the medical field. Very bright. Came to him way too easy. And sophomore year in high school, he just started smoking marijuana with a neighbor kid. And I don't know the data on gateway drugs, but I can tell you in my family that broke the seal for him. He became a different identity. He was now the kid who lived on the edge, and he was in sports and all kinds of things, and started from marijuana, kind of started doing other little things. We caught him with spice, and we panicked. Like, we're not used to dealing with any kind of substances at all. Like, my girls weren't big drinkers. We're not big drinkers. We were out of our element. Came down on him really hard. We tried everything. We tried tough love. We tried taking away privileges. We tried taking away his car, his phone. I mean, we did everything we possibly could think of, but it just progressed, and it came to a point where it's going to come to a head, right? I mean, you don't get to go down that path, and everybody thinks they've got it managed. And in high school, in his senior year, he lost basketball, kicked off the team. And we went to the school. We tried, what can we do? Like, that is his one thing. Like, that is his thing, right? Can we have him do community service, anything? And nope, done is done. And ironically, he got kicked off of basketball got caught chewing tobacco twice, which they said if he was good at it, he would have just swallowed it like other kids did. He didn't even know how to chew tobacco, but he was doing it because the kids were doing it in the weight room. And then he had one more strike and he was out. And so he was at a school function, I think it was homecoming, and had a half a Mike's Hard Lemonade. And the officer confirmed with me that's what he had. That's what Caden said he had, and that's what his blood alcohol level showed. However, he was a minor in possession, so lost basketball. And from there, everything just tanked. He lost his friends, his group, his identity. He knew we were disappointed in him. He let his family down, and he was extremely anxious. Always, he was a worrier anyway, and I know that comes with a sign of being highly aware and intelligent. He was very anxious and didn't really know how to get a grip on how he had lost everything and be able to get it back. So the more he lost, the more he used. And the more he used, the more he lost. So by the time high school graduation time came, he didn't have any of his same friends. I mean, they don't hang out with kids that do that. These were good family kids, and he lost all of them, lost his girlfriend, everybody. And so, I've said this before, but the people that accepted him and that made him feel worth were the kids in school who did drugs. And that's kind of where he felt like he was accepted again. So there was one counselor at the high school who really was a lifesaver for us. I mean, she really deeply cared about him. As last day of school, he took her flowers, but even she couldn't get through. But he didn't even know if he was going to graduate. I mean, he wanted to pursue always the same answer. I know what I'm doing. I'm not stupid. I'm not addicted. I'm not addicted, Mom. And then whether he was or wasn't, I don't know. I'm guessing he just couldn't stop the snowball from rolling at that point. So senior year, he didn't know he was going to graduate. He did. Looking back, graduation was the least of my problems. But in my mind, I was, you're frantic. You can't think straight. You're trying to save your kid, You would do anything, jump in front of the bus for him. He went to college. We did not think he should go. We thought he wasn't ready. He was on antidepressants. He went to college, and he said, Mom, I'm not staying. I'm going to college. I'm smart. I'm going to get my life together. And went to Bozeman. Checked him a few times in and out. We'd go have lunch with him and do stuff with him. Talked to him on the phone at least 4 or 5 times a week. I could tell he was sad. But he always maintained he was figuring it out. And he wasn't. Came home. Another failure, right? Another huge failure for a kid who had a really promising future. Came home, I remember one day he was crying and we were talking and I said, what can I do? Like, how can we help you? Tell us, we will do anything. He said, Mom, I said, he's like, I don't know. And I said, are you depressed? I said, is that it's a depression? Like, tell me, we will try, we'll go anywhere to fix this, like how? And he said, Mom, I wish I was depressed. If I felt anything, it'd be better than feeling nothing at all. I was kind of going back and forth to Bozeman to see friends. And I mean, we were up to 4 in the morning, 3 in the morning, my husband and I were researching, Googling, can we send him away to camp somewhere? Can we send him to a program? I don't know anything about this, like nothing. And there are no resources for parents like me who don't know what they're doing. We just don't know where to turn or what to do. We had no idea. We were so in over our heads. And I've got a lot of friends who said, talk to my friend at the police department, talk to this person. You know, I called this counselor. We had him in counseling, and he just was like, Mom, these counselors don't understand. He's like, they're using cuss words to make me think they're cool. He's like, I just feel like it's just not working. And so he went to Bozeman to see friends back and forth a few times. I'm suspecting he was probably going back to get more drugs or whatever he was doing. My husband and I came home one night from having a little date night, and it was summer, and we have fires up here sometimes. We get evacuated. And I got a knock on my door, and there was smoke. There was smoke everywhere, and I knew it wasn't close to us, but the wind can change in a heartbeat. And so I wondered if they were coming to tell us that, hey, you know, there's fires in the area. So I went to the door, and I saw the officer, and he came in and told us about 10 o'clock that my son had passed away that day on July 27th, 2017. I don't remember a lot after that. I mean, and I try to explain it. There's no words, right, that you can explain it. But I think I tell people the best way I can explain it is that you're caught up in a tornado, you and your husband and your kids, your daughter, your son, everybody's just flying around, and you're trying to still be a good mom to your 2 kids, but you always go to the one who's struggling the most, right? My husband and I would go back and forth. He'd be the heavy, I'd be the forgiving one. Then I'd be the heavy and he'd be forgiving. We weren't hardly ever on the same page at the same time, but I hear that's very common. We were exhausted. And we were scared. And all of a sudden the tornado stops and everybody flies out and one's gone. And you think, how is this even possible? Like, you know, this is not our family. Like my husband and I volunteered everywhere. We were a super close family. You know, we were the vice president of the football club at this high school. I mean, you just know how fast you can go from, wow, you know, we did everything we could to raise good citizens and good kids who lowered their risk. And then all of a sudden you look and you're missing one. When the officer first came in, he knew, he's done this before, he knew we were not going to absorb anything he was saying. He laid a piece of paper here on the couch for me and said, when you're ready, call this number. And it sat there for probably a day or 2. We couldn't even pick it up. And we found out that he died actually from carfentanil, which is way more powerful than fentanyl. It's actually used, the agent that helped us said that it's an elephant tranquilizer, not meant for human consumption. It's carfentanil. So if 3 little grains of salt or 2 little grains of salt of fentanyl can kill X amount of people, carfentanil is, I can tell you the numbers, I don't remember, I have to look it up. I could Google it, but it's way, way more potent than fentanyl. And we didn't know until July of this last year exactly what happened. They couldn't say a lot because it was an ongoing case, but 6 kids died from that same stuff that my son died from, the same in Montana, across Montana, some Great Falls. They didn't know Caden was part of that shipment or drugs or whatever until later. They found out by accident because he'd actually died in Bozeman. I mean, I felt sick to my stomach. The officer said there were 14 people, I believe, indicted, and they were all under the age of 25. We found out July of this year that the one kid who they did end up prosecuting was selling out of the Bozeman cafeteria, and six kids died, and he got 7 years. The officer said, we talked a lot about it in July, and this July, because we were ready, and he could talk about it because the case ended. It took 4 years for it to come to fruition, but he said that he gave us some answers. He said that, you know, Caden thought he was buying oxys, which is what all these people are buying. They're oxycodone or oxycodone. I don't know how to even say it right. I guess it's either way. But he was buying oxys, and they're fentanyl. I mean, you don't know what you're getting. They're stamped the same. They look the same. You cannot tell. And the way he explained it to me is, and I don't know if you care about this part or not, but they, when drug manufacturers make oxy, they know what they're doing. They put like 1 grain of this in there and the rest of it's filler. When these guys cut it themselves, they don't know, nor do they care. One pill could be perfect, and the next pill they cut is going to kill you instantly. I mean, you just don't ever know. And they just don't care. It's just a number to them. So Caden would go there, and the officer did say that he would sell to his friends for like $2 a pill, which is ridiculous, he said, but he was just doing it to be a friend or whatever that his friends would buy, and then that's how he would get his too, because he couldn't afford it. He was working at UPS, but that's real irrelevant, I guess. But he didn't know what he was taking. It's Russian roulette. I mean, these kids, they take it, and they I guess they just hope that it's going to be okay. But I think if they knew how much of a risk it was, or like even now it's more so than it was 3 or 4 years ago, but if they knew, would they still take it? I don't know. But they all think the same thing. When you're a young kid, you're 8 foot tall and bulletproof, and you know everything, and what could possibly happen? I'm going to live forever. Everybody thinks it could not happen to them, right? I didn't know anything about any of this before, and I think it happened to me. I guess until it happens to you, then you think, oh, it might be somebody else's problem, or it might be, would not happen to my family. I'm telling you, I mean, it happens fast. There are kids that can do it for 3 or 4 years and take these pills, be fine, and no one ever knows, and they're fine. And then there are some kids that could try it with their friends once or twice, and it's happening younger. I just read an article where a 12-year-old overdosed and died from it. A really cute little gal. It can affect anybody. That's, I guess, my thing is I want people to know is it can affect anybody. It doesn't have to be, someone who's down and out and whose families does drugs and they're just, it doesn't matter if poverty, it doesn't matter if you're wealthy, it doesn't matter if you, it doesn't matter. It just crosses all borders. It crosses all categories and groups. I think like with suicide, when you lose a kid, it's every parent's, I can't even say worst nightmare because that's so cliche, it's way worse than that. But you don't know. You'll never know. There's too many things covering it up, too many people covering it up. The kid my son was staying with threw everything in the garbage, hid everything, was scared to death. He got nothing. He probably shouldn't say a whole lot about that, but he covered everything up. I mean, we know, and I heard a lot of rumors after that. I heard a lot of rumors that scared me and broke my heart, and I'll never know the truth. Never. I will never know the truth. And I meet with other moms. I have a good friend who I met because of this, and she lost her only daughter. Her name's Carol Keenan, and she was my shining light in this whole thing because she'd been through it. And about a year before my son passed, she lost her daughter, Mary Kate. And then the two of us talked and made me feel sane again. And you realize that, wow, this is the same story over and over, just different characters. The lying, the lifestyle that goes with it. The more they lie, the better they get at it. They're ashamed, and they're all good. Kids are not bad people. And when you lose a kid to something like drugs, you have the whole layer of losing a kid, but then you have this whole other depth where people look at you and probably wonder, oh, I wonder what they did wrong, or, there must be something more to this story, and there's not. There's just not. And the more parents that I talk to, the more you realize that is the truth. There's about 5 of us moms now who meet about once a month. Just wonderful human beings who have all lost a kid or a grandkid to the same thing. And we all say the same thing. We didn't know where to go or what to do. We were so out of our element, did the best we could do, and the outcome wasn't anything you'd ever expect. I would love to go out and talk to schools or to young people who are addicted so I could help them, but I'm not that person because my outcome wasn't the outcome that you'd want, right? I don't know how to give advice on that, but what I am passionate about is helping other people who've been through this say, you didn't do anything wrong. This happens, and let's find the good that we can do going forward with it. So that's why when Carol came to me and she said, Overdose Awareness Day internationally is a huge day where we can help end the stigma for people that use, because that was part of it for all of us moms, is that, you know, you're trying to save your kid, right? You're trying to save your kid's reputation. There's so much stigma and shame about it. Like, none of us knew, where do you go to get help? Where do you go and say, my kid is using, help me get out of this. What are the steps? What do I do? We didn't know. None of us knew. None of us knew what to do, because you're embarrassed. You don't want people to know. You don't. You know, you work at the school, you volunteer at the school, you have friends, you know. My daughter's babysit for the principal. I mean, it just wasn't me. We fought hard. And in the end, I didn't care who knew, but it's shameful. It is, and it's hard to talk about it. So I don't ever want to feel that way again. I don't want other people to feel that way. It was held at Rose Park, and it just was the two of us starting it up. And it was during COVID, so we had no idea what to expect, but we've had such great feedback from it. And I'll talk to anybody that wants to talk to me about it. I just will. You know, I'm so passionate about it that the people left behind are the ones that are left stunned and shocked and empty-handed and guilt-ridden. And what could I have done different, or what didn't I do right?
Do you kind of talk to Caden now? Do you like that? Is that?
I'm mad at him. I'm still angry. I mean, we told him how this story was going to end, and it's not going to be good, right? I just wish I could tell him, why did you do this? Like, why did you even do it one time? You know, why? Why one time? Like, you had so many opportunities and you were so blessed. Why? You know, you tore apart our family, just shredded it. We're close. I have a beautiful family, but one's always missing. Sorry. Yeah, I'm mad at him. I'm angry, and I miss him every day.